Hi, welcome back to PennLive.com. I'm Dustin Hawkinsmith, back with Greg Pickle. We're looking at Big Ten Media Days once again, this time from a Penn State perspective. James Franklin will be there along with Brian Gaia, the center, Naeem Wortman-White, the linebacker, and Brandon Bell, the linebacker. So you've got 2/3 of Penn State's linebacker core. What we're looking at today is what we want to find out from each of these guys and what we think we might find out. Starting with James Franklin, what do you want to know from him? I think by the time they get out to Chicago, all this talk about a recruiting drought, it could be over because there's some pretty fresh leads out there still, and Penn State's dialogue might change on that front. But what do you want to know from James?
I'll be interested to see how he handles questions about his job security and the stability of the program. It's going to come up. There's going to be people that haven't been following the program that want to know why they have a new offensive coordinator, why Bob Shoop left, why Herb Hand left. Again, it's old news to a lot of people out there, but to the people that'll be listening from different Big Ten cities in Chicago, it's new. So I'd be interested to hear how he handles that, if it's anything new than what he said before. And I think also I'm curious to find out, where he thinks they are on the install in the offense. We've heard a little bit from Joe Moorhead during spring practice, but they have a lot of guys that can be impact playmakers this year if they can get the offense down. So I think that's key as well.
This is an unpredictable environment for a coach because you plop down at a table, a lot of faces that you may or may not have seen before. It's not the typical beat structure where the similar questions are coming from similar faces. But with Franklin, I think there's not a better person as far as selling his talking points and sticking to his talking points and saying every single thing that he says with a purpose. So the hope, I think, is to catch him off guard maybe a little bit and find out some of his true thoughts on some of these issues. How about the three players involved? Brian Gaia, he's an interesting guy. He's a projected starting center, new offense, so I would venture to guess that we'll learn something about how he views the blocking scheme and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a guy that sort of was the only one that rose to the occasion when they were looking for a center in spring practice. They tried some other guys out there. So I'm curious to know, too, his thoughts on just how easier the offense is to block than maybe the last one. We heard a little bit of lift for life, not too much. He's going to sit in front of a podium for 30 minutes in Chicago, so we're going to get plenty of insight on that. And then the other thing is, I think we'll know more about the other offensive line. Where's Noah Bay at? Where's Paris Palmer at? Andrew Nelson, Brendan Mann, Derek Dowry, they're all known commodities, Ryan Bates as well. But I think that right tackle battle was really interesting. He's going to be able to give the best insight of anybody out there.
Then you got the two linebackers, I think, questioning on both fronts. Start with Brandon Bell. The last we heard from him, and I don't think we've gotten a chance to hear, Brent Pry said he played all of last year on 2 bum wheels and a bad shoulder. I would love to get some insight on how that happened, when that happened, what percent he was for most of the season, because that could reveal just how good he could be if he is fully healthy this year.
No question. I know our Bob Flounders is really anxious to ask how he feels about being left off so many preseason watch lists, because he was arguably Penn State's best linebacker.
I love how much Bob cares about that.
He does.
The only person that cares about watch lists, as far as I can see, is Bob Flounders.
That's right. And, I think he has a valid point in the sense that, like you mentioned, Bell was not 100%. We're going to find out what that percentage is. It was not 100, and he was still probably Penn State's best linebacker. So it would be interesting to see what he has to say.
I think people knew that, but maybe not the severity with which he was injured. And then Naeem Wortman-White, obviously injured in the season opener last year. I'm curious to see. He's going to probably play it pretty close to the vest, I would imagine, but where he's at with his recovery with his knee injury.
Yeah, he's been walking around campus. He's been walking around, the hospital visit they made down here. So I'm more curious to see not only, of course, how his recovery went, but his thoughts on, there's a lot of talk right now about banning kickoffs. You get hurt on a punt, different thing, but I think he can offer a unique perspective to that. So there's some interesting things to look for from him as well.
Plenty of reasons to stay tuned to PennLive.com. It's July 25th and 26th. Greg, Bob Flounders, Joe Herman will all be in Chicago covering this thing from start to finish from the Penn State perspective all across the Big Ten. So stay tuned for that. PennLive.com/Penn State football.